Welcome, traveler, to another video on the EDH Banlist. We are getting closer to the end of the series. If you haven't watched the previous episodes, there's a link to them in the description down below. Otherwise, let's dive in with more broken cards from the banlist. Or are they? This is it. If you're interested, come take a peek into the cauldron. Prophet of Kruphix. This beautiful human wizard costs 3 a green and a blue for 5 mana total. It's a creature, and it says untap all creatures and lands you control during each other player's untap step. You may cast creature cards as though they had flash. It's a 2/3, and time is fleet as dance and truth as fleeting. So, why is the Prophet of Kruphix banned? Many good reasons. Prophet of Kruphix text is 2 cards on 1. This is basically the combo assembled of Leyline of Anticipation and Sidborn Muse, an extremely powerful combo that lets you play basically a turn in the middle of every opponent's turn. Prophet of Kruphix is that for way cheaper in a single card. Sure, you're restricted to creatures, but you're in Semeg. I'm pretty sure you can use that. So it's very easy to tutor up, even into play, being a single creature. Sidborn Muse doesn't allow you to flash anything, so even though she is very good at untapping, since you can untap even artifact with Sidborn Muse, allowing you to have access to more mana, you are not able to flash creatures, so she isn't as oppressive. So you can build again a Prophet of Kruphix with Sidborn Muse and Leyline of Anticipation, or Vidalcan Orrery, or Yeva, which are all cards that let you flash in, cards that you wouldn't normally be able to flash. And Prophet of Kruphix is just way too strong. It allows you to really go off during other people's turn for an amount of mana that's not fair. I would say that if they were to reprint a Prophet of Kruphix card, she should be like 7 mana. I think it would be still broken. Maybe 8 would be okay. I think it would be okay at 8 or 9. And this is 5. It really isn't okay. This card should stay banned for casual play, and it's not a card that would interest anyone in competitive, so there's no reason to unban it. It will stay banned, unfortunately. Bye bye Prophet of Kruphix. Maybe one day we get a replacement effect of this, but again, you don't really need to have all of this value in a single piece. You can assemble this card's effect one way or another, and I think that's, if you want that effect, you can still have it. So Prophet of Kruphix is just a broken way to have it, so I don't think we will ever see this card be unbanned, and we don't need it. Recurring Nightmare is next. It's an enchantment for 2 and a black, 3 total. It says, sacrifice a creature, return returning Nightmare to its owner's hand, and put a creature card from your graveyard into play. Playing this ability only as a sorcery. Korvac says that he's confined by sleep and defined by nightmare, which is very scary, and I would also be very scared if this card would ever get unbanned, because this is arguably the most powerful reanimation card ever printed in the game. Now, it isn't as explosive as Reanimate or Animate Dead. It requires a little bit of setup, but once it goes off, it's really hard to stop, and it leads to very repeated gameplay that's just is about sacrificing a creature, getting back, sacrificing a creature, getting back, sacrificing a creature, getting back, over and over again with very little effort. So Recurring Nightmare leads to poor gameplay, is extremely broken, and unfun to play against, and I think it's unfun even to play with after a couple of games while you do the same thing continuously. We're probably gonna get bored. So Recurring Nightmare is banned, we don't need it back, it will stay banned. Let's go over to the next card. Sylvan Primordial for 5, a green and a green is a 7 mana creature avatar. It's a 6/8 with reach, and when it enters the battlefield for each opponent, you get to destroy target non-creature permanent that player controls. For each permanent destroyed this way, you search your library for a forest card and put that card onto the battlefield tapped. So this card is insane. It's easily one of the most busted green creatures ever, and that's saying a lot considering the power of the usual green creatures. So why is that? Simply put, this is a huge body. It stops flyer, which can be a weakness of green, and it gets rid of any single permanent as problematic, even lands, even basic lands, except creatures, and gets you more forest to play more busted Sylvan Primordial cards. Most importantly, being an enter the battlefield trigger, this card can be blinked, and since it fetches you a forest for each permanent you destroy, it really wants you to pick and choose a card from each opponent. It really doesn't want you to be kind to anyone, like, oh, I don't want to destroy your basic lands since you're behind. At the same time, I really want to grab another forest to trigger all my landfall triggers, so I think I still destroy it. I'm sorry. So you just play the Sylvan Primordial, blink it over and over again. You get rid of everybody's permanents. You don't give them nothing back. You grab forest in, and his body is huge, a 6/8 reach. So yeah, Sylvan Primordial is extremely broken. If he ever was unbanned, it will be instantly played in any green deck that plays any amount of big creatures. So yeah, it's just simply too strong and should remain banned. Next up, another pretty good card. Someone may know this, but drawing 3 cards for 1 mana at instant speed is pretty good. Ancestral Recall is the banned card that lets you do that. I don't think we need any explanation for this. It's one of the most broken cards in the game, part of the Power 9. Drawing 3 for 1 at instant speed is busted. For some reason you can force an opponent to draw 3 if you ever wanted to. And yep, that's it. Ancestral Recall is banned for good reason. It costs a gajillion amount of money. So it would be another card that says this game is pay to win. We don't want it. Card says banned. Buy Ancestral Recall. It will be still played in Vintage. Next up is Lutri the Spell Chaser. For 3 mana, 1 and double hybrid Izzet is a legendary creature elemental otter. It's a companion. A great mechanic. To have it as a companion, each non-land card in your starting deck needs to have a different name. It has flash, and when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you copy target instant or sorcery spell you control, and you may choose new targets for the copy. So it is a worst. At first glance, it strictly was dual caster mage, because it can be included in less decks. He has 1 more power, sure, yay, and he cannot copy spells from your opponents. Of course, the problem with Lottery comes from the companion keyword. Who would have guessed that companions would be busted? So, as you may have noticed, many commander decks tend to not have a good number of non-land cards with the same name. To include Lutri in your companion zone, which for some reason is legal in Commander even though we don't have a sideboard, another thing I never understood, you would need to have an Izzet deck. That's it. It's just an advantage that is stupid, shouldn't exist, so Lutri is banned. Bye bye Lutri. No one will ever need you, and if anyone would, they can put you in the 99 like every other card in the Magic the Gathering game. Next up is another card that needs no explanation nor introduction. Time Walk. For 1 and a blue, it's a sorcery that says take an extra turn after this one. I think everyone knows why it's banned. I don't need to spend any words on this card. It's stupid. Let's go to the next one. The next one, maybe it's even more powerful, it's Black Lotus. For 0 mana, it's an artifact. You can tap and sacrifice it to add 3 mana of any one color. Very simple, very straightforward. Again, 0 mana, add 3 mana. It's a very powerful ritual, the most powerful ritual in the game. It is banned because it's broken and because it's extremely ludicrously expensive. To go over more very balanced cards, the Mox cycle, the original Mox cycle. So Mox Emerald, Mox Jet, Mox Pearl, Mox Ruby, Mox Sapphire. Everyone knows what they do. They are 0 mana artifacts. They act like basic lands, except being artifacts, you can have all sorts of synergies with them. And most importantly, they don't need to be played once per turn, so these are basically land cards you can play in addition to your land drop. This is obviously an extremely broken effect, and they are also extremely pricey due to the reserved list, so they never come off. Next up is everyone's favorite legendary land, Caracas. It's a very cute white land and it taps for white, or you can tap it to return target of a legendary creature to its owner's hand. So, at some point, I heard people advocate for Caracas to be unbanned because white was weak in the format. Let me tell you, that's not the way you wanna go to fix white, because this would make green decks way more powerful. Notice that you don't need to pay mana to activate the bounce effect on this land, you just need to tap it. So any green effect, or any color effect, but mostly green effect, that let you untap lands would make you be able to keep bouncing legends all over the place. And believe me, it's not just commanders, because in the format there are many legends played, not just in the command zone. So you will find a ton of uses for this card. You can pair it to so many already strong effects than top lands. This card has no tax. It's a plains with an extremely powerful build attached to it. It costs a lot of money again. Not that much since it's not on the reserved list. I even own a copy of this. It's a very cute card, and unfortunately it will never be legal in any shape or form. Next card is the bad version of Sylvan Primordial, but still, it's one of the most powerful green creatures ever printed. Of course, I'm talking about Primeval Titan. For 4 and double green, is a creature giant with 6/6 and trample. So whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, you may search your library for up to 2 land cards and put them to the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle your library. So if this card were legal, when nature calls, you would need to run. Because while this card looks relatively fine, if you play the Eternal formats, you would know that this is one of the very few creatures that has an FT mana cost attached to it that is still played because of how much power it brings with it. Being able to fetch up 2 lands, even if they come tapped whenever it enters or attacks, makes you ramp up extremely well and find all kinds of utility lands in your deck. For example, it enters, you fetch 2 lands, you get Cabal Coffers and Urborg, you get a gajillion mana your next turn, you still have a 6/6, you still can fetch more lands. You can blink it to fetch multiple lands in a turn, you can get extra combat phases to get even more lands into play. It goes infinite with a couple of cards like Ocom, mostly infinite, like physical infinite. So this card is, again, one of the most powerful green cards ever printed. It is banned. Should it remain banned? I've never played with it in Commander. I've seen it played in Modern. And in Commander, there are many green mythics creatures that, when they resolve and the turn cycle passes, that win. And Primeval Titan, I don't know if it's as strong as some other options, The good part of Primeval Titan is that even if it dies immediately after it enters, you still get a gajillion of value. I'm not sure if he's more powerful than some other option, but probably it is. Cultivator Colossus is a card that comes to mind. Nyx Bloom Ancient is another one. But the point is that both of those cards are more expensive than Primeval Titan, and again, both of them not necessarily more powerful. So Primeval Titan would be definitely see play in every single green deck that could play it, which is basically all of them. So it's be another staple. We already have too many staples in the format. I think we can keep this banned. Green doesn't need it. It's not a particularly interesting effect because green has access to land tutoring anyways and to big trampling creatures anyways. So this is just the most efficient way to have both of them, and I think we can keep him banned. Next up is a fairly recent ban. It's Golos. Tireless Pilgrim. Probably many of you got to play with this card. For 5 mana, he is a legendary artifact creature scout. And it's a 3/5 and reads when he enters the battlefield, you search your library for any land card, you put it onto the battlefield tapped, you shuffle your library, and you can play 2. A white, a blue, a black, a red, a green, and you exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play them this turn without paying their mana cost. So, why was Golos banned? First up, his activity ability is very powerful and very easy to abuse. It's not hard to stack your deck with big cards to cheat. 7 mana is cheap for 3 big cards. You go like, I don't know, Brainstorm, or even a simple Mystical Tutor, something big on top, and you cheat it in. But even if you go random, like many casual builded Golos decks, you're still gonna get a lot of value of the activation. But the big reason why Golos is banned is not his activated ability, but it's actually his enter the battlefield ability. Simply being able to fetch any land into play with your commander makes this card extremely resilient, way too resilient. It's basically impossible to keep Golos out of the battlefield unless you are playing cards that are discouraged to play multiplayer casual games like land denial cards and other stacks pieces, because it keeps ramping you up every time you play it. So even if it gets killed repeatedly, it's still coming back very consistently. Because, I don't know, you pay 5, he enters. You get the Cabal Coffers combo. You get Ancient Tomb, which pays for him by itself another time. You get Temple of the False God, again, 2 mana. You can replay it with just that land. So you never have him away. And very quickly he will get you to the cards that you want to cheat in fairly with the amount of lands you can amass with Golos. So he was banned because it was way too consistent at doing what he wants to do. Also very powerful. Even casual builds of Golos ended up being way too strong, and he was banned. So personally, I have never played against Golos. I own a copy of Golos. I played it in a Legend Matter deck, but in the 99. So in the 99 he is good, but it's nothing insane. But I can see why in the command zone it would be very toxic. So, a thing that makes me sad about it is that it allowed you to play 5 colors for very cheap because of its ability. Even if your mana was very bad and you played a lot of basic lands, you could just play Golos, fetch any kind of lands you needed to fix your colors, and you would be ready to go, even without fetches and shocklands and triumphs. And he's the only commander for 5 color that allowed you to do that. So maybe they could print another one that wasn't as powerful, that would facilitate that. Or even better, they could reprint those frigging lands that should be way cheaper than they are. But let's not go over that route. Goals is banned because it's too powerful. It should stay banned. It won't come off the ban list. Next up is a very infamous artifact called Paradox Engine. For 5 mana, it's a legendary artifact that says whenever you cast a spell, untap all non-land permanents you control. So, if you're a newer player, you've never played against this card, but people actually thought this was fair in casual play. People actually slotted this in without thinking that it would break the game. And let me tell you, they were wrong. This card is just too much. For 5 mana in casual play, you shouldn't be able to cast a spell and tap all non-land permanents with a very minimal amount of mana rocks. This can really generate ludicrous amounts of mana, and not only that, untap all non-land permanents you control, so it allows you to activate anything that's not mana all over and over and over again. It goes infinite very easily, and even if you don't go infinite, it leads to very, very long turns. So it was banned for those two reasons. It will 100% stay banned. It was top tier in competitive. I don't know why people kept playing this in casual. I'm sorry for you EDH players out there. I think you can rule 0 this in if you like the card. I don't think it's more powerful than other things you have access to in competitive. So I would encourage you to talk to your playgroup to let you play it if you like the card. I think they would agree. It isn't more problematic than a Thoracle combo, for example. So for you, it's an unfortunate loss. For casual play, Paradox Engine should stay banned. That's it for the card. Next up, we've got the most biggest and baddest demon we've ever got in Grizzlebrand. He is a massive 8 mana, 4 and quadruple black for a 7/7 legendary creature demon. He has flying, he has lifelink, and most importantly, he lets you pay 7 life to draw 7 cards. So, this card is obviously banned for very good reason. First, it's top tier card in Eternal formats where you have 20 life, and in Commander you have 40 life, and you can sit in your command zone being a legend. So there isn't much analysis needed to discuss this card. The closest card we've got available legally is a very stupid version of this. He's called Asmodeus the Archfiend. I will read the card for those who don't know. So for 6 mana, he's a 6/6, he's a legendary creature Devil God, and it says if you will draw a card, exile the top card of your library face down instead, so as long as it's in play, you don't get to draw cards normally. Then you can pay triple black to draw 7 cards, and you can pay a black, return all cards exiled with Asmodeus into its owner's hand, and you lose that much life. So he is a very, very, very bad version of Grizzlebrand. But if you wanted to play mono black and you wanted a big, scary demon in your command zone, or devil, I guess, you would still be able to draw a gajillion cards off of it, paying life. For these reasons, Grizzlebrand will never be legal again. For those fortunate few who got to play with it, you probably know how busted it was. When I started playing, he was already banned, so I'm not in that circle. But I would say that I'm not thrilled to ever play against this card in Commander. So just stay right where it is. We'll stop here for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing. I am also very curious to read your thoughts down in the comments. This was If. Thanks for watching.